Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 18th episode of Battles and Voices. I'm Lathika, and I'm the founder and host.
And I'm Camden, and I'm the co-host.
And we serve on the executive team of Battles and Voices. Battles and Voices brings together students, mentors, and professionals involved in healthcare to share their stories.
Please welcome our guest, Molly.
Molly, thank you so much for being a part of this episode. It means a lot to us that you'll be one of our guests today on Battles and Voices. Feel free to introduce yourself and share some things about who you are.
Hi, thank you guys so much for having me today. I'm a D2 or a second year dental student at the University of New England College of Dental Medicine, and that's in Portland, Maine.
Could you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to go into healthcare in general and later on dental school?
Sure. So during high school, I knew I might be interested in going into healthcare, so I started to explore some of my options. I just always really liked my science classes, thought that people who were in healthcare had really cool jobs and wanted to learn more about it. And then through one of the volunteer organizations I was involved in high school, I actually met a dentist, and she started telling me all about her job, and I really liked how she seemed to have good work-life balance and the ability to really transform somebody's smile and their confidence. Especially even now, I still like to go back and watch videos where people have had their smiles made over or have had an experience where they get taken out of pain. It's just really empowering to see.
That's wonderful. So how do you think dentistry provides a work-life balance as opposed to other fields in medicine?
I think dentistry is really unique in its ability to provide work-life balance, particularly because with dentistry, you have the opportunity to move on and become an owner of your own practice. So the field in itself just has a lot more opportunity for that balance in your life because as opposed to a medical program, you don't necessarily have to be on call 24/7 during some parts of your study or have a more rigorous schedule because you have to go into the emergency room, things like that. There are some instances where, as a dentist, you could be doing that. Say you were to do like an oral surgery residency, or even if you were to do a pediatrics residency and you're doing a hospital rotation. But for the most part, you have a lot more balance because even in a dental emergency setting, you typically can more anticipate a problem coming up and have that scheduled rather than have to be having somebody call you at 2 a.m. and immediately going in to fix the problem. And then as a dental student, I would say I'm able to balance my work-life schedule pretty well, especially at the University of New England. They really emphasize students' well-being and being able to take time for yourself as well.
Could you tell us a little bit about the public health and patient study care program that you recently joined?
Definitely. Public health is something that's really important to me, and one of the reasons I was drawn to dentistry. There's a lot of connections that people don't necessarily know about between your whole body systemic health that connects to your oral health. I used to, before coming to dental school, I worked at a dental office that really emphasized this connection. And I got to learn all about how, like, the plaque in your mouth could travel to your heart, how it might now the dental world has always kind of known this, but more and more studies are coming out that things like bad oral bacteria might be linking to Alzheimer's or other systemic diseases. And in my school, we have a wonderful public health teacher who teaches all of us a course on public health dentistry, and we get to learn more about those kind of connections and the different ways that dentists can connect with the community and why it's important to have public health dentists. And through my school, there's a large focus on interprofessional education, getting to work with the PTs, the med students, pharmacy students, and they created this program in which you get to join together with all of these students, and they will bring in fake patient actors, and the actors will have a whole list of complications, what medications they're taking, a social history, and in a team of different professionals, you get to work together to figure out what your specific role is, but also how the different roles can interact. So that's been a really valuable experience to be a part of so far, just in learning and getting to share what different professions can do for the whole community, because you don't always get to see how a pharmacist can interact with a dentist, but getting to work with somebody and gain that experience is definitely helpful looking to the future when we will be doing that every day.
That's
That's so
wonderful.
beautiful to hear. Oh,
So what motivates you to keep working hard as a dental student, even when things get difficult?
I would say everybody definitely has to find something to motivate them because it definitely can get difficult with long hours of studying or time spent working on things. For me personally, what's really motivating is to think about those cases in which patients are like coming in pain and then being brought out of it within that same day appointment or having their smile transformed and now they're confident enough to smile in pictures, go out with their family, or apply for a job they didn't think so before. But I would say one thing that I can always turn to is looking to other successful dentists. Even just within our local community, I've had the opportunity to meet some amazing women in dentistry and get to go and tour their offices. So sometimes when I'm just really stressed thinking about like, oh, what is the future going to look like? How am I going to get there? I think about what they've done to get where they are, how successful they are, and how much of an impact they're able to make on their patients' lives. And I find that very motivating.
that's wonderful to hear. Are there any hobbies that you engage in outside of school?
There's definitely lots of things I like to be a part of, both inside and outside of school. I would say outside of school, one of my main hobbies is reading. I love to unwind with a good book. Even today, I actually went with one of my friends and we got to go to this book event happening in our city. And then I would say another big hobby of mine that's really developed more since having the opportunity to move to Maine is hiking or being out in nature. There's lots to do here, especially now with the weather changing and all of the fall leaves coming about. It's super fun. And even if it's things that are somewhat with the school, somewhat outside of the school, I have lots of different opportunities to try new things. Through our school, our recreation department puts on a lot of activities. So I've gotten to try a lot of things I never thought I would ever do, like surfing, ice wall climbing, and then just get to participate in a lot of fun things like going on a hike with the school, going and trying a new sport. So there's definitely lots to do and lots to take your mind off of school, which is nice when it is off the long days.
I definitely agree. And books are also my favorite time to pass. Time
Yeah.
to pass, yeah. And yeah, definitely. So what was it like participating in your college's leadership institution in undergraduate school?
It was a really valuable experience for me. The college I went to is the University of Florida. So through the program, I got to meet with lots of different leaders all across the states of Florida, especially leaders in a wide variety of different fields. So, for example, one woman I met with was head of an agriculture department. So it was just cool to see the different ways that leadership is different across different fields, but it all comes down to the same thing. We also got to study leadership over 3 semesters, and each semester focused on a different level of leadership. So, for the first semester, we were learning all about leadership within ourselves, what a strength is in leadership, and how to be a good leader. Then we learned it at a community level. We got to interact within the community, do needs-based assessment and community service. And then in our last semester, we got to learn more about it on a global level and see what a big impact that leaders can make. And I think coming in applying to dental school, but then also in dental school, it's definitely given me a lot of invaluable experiences and lots of experiences to talk about in things like interviews or on applications. And that's definitely given me a boost because lots of schools, no matter what the profession is, want to see strong leadership skills.
I can highly agree with that, especially now as like high schoolers. Me and Ladika are both actually seniors this year. So we're applying to all these colleges now. And I can say I feel like sometimes it's a little bit scary if like we may not have like enough leadership positions and whatnot. So I can totally agree with that. But how do you think that traveling a lot gives you a different perspective when it comes to healthcare?
I think having traveled a lot, I've actually coming up to Maine for dental school. This will be the sixth state I've lived in. I think it gives me a unique advantage in having experienced so many different communities and populations. I've lived in all across the east side of the United States, and I've lived in larger cities, more rural areas. At one point, I was actually living out of a hotel for like a month or two, so that was kind of a crazy experience. But it definitely gives me a lot of perspective and understanding when it comes to patients. And even just having lived in areas where it's a lot harder to have access to healthcare or find an available provider, especially if I knew we were only going to live there for a short amount of time and I wasn't able to establish long-term care, I have a lot more compassion for patients and understand some of the struggles that they are going through, and it makes it a lot easier to relate to them.
I can definitely agree. So how do you think having leadership skills can give someone an advantage when working in the medical field?
I think leadership is essential no matter how big or small you think your role on a medical team is. I think it's really important in teaching you communication skills. Even just a good leader, I feel, knows when you need to step up and really take over in your leadership or step back and let other people shine and help encourage them to be better leaders. Especially in a medical field, there's lots of stressful situations where somebody needs to understand the different roles of providers and understand how to quickly triage the situation and figure out what everyone needs to be doing. So, having a background of leadership skills is definitely helpful in that sense. Furthermore, just in interacting with your patients, you are somebody that they're looking up to and who they're expecting quality care from. So, having a leadership skill can really help you come across as confident and present yourself in a way that makes the patient trust you. And building that trust right from the start is really imperative to having a great patient relationship and being able to discuss the care that they need with them.
Alrighty. And is there anyone in particular that has inspired you along your journey in dental school or in life?
I would say in life, definitely my mom. She's just one of the most resilient people I know and is very encouraging. And whenever I have a really hard day in dental school, I know I can call her, tell her all about my stress, and really just help unwind. And then in dentistry, in particular, I would just say a lot of the dentists who I've gotten to shadow or work with have really inspired me. Seeing the types of connections they get to make with their patients has been incredibly motivating. There was one dentist in particular I shadowed, Dr. Hill, and she was just a very strong leader. She really ran her team well, and all of her coworkers and peers really respected her. And you could just tell in her patient relationships that they knew they could trust her and that she would be trying to deliver them the best care possible, but also care that they were comfortable receiving at the time. She really was able to relate with them.
That's wonderful. So before we wrap things up, is there any advice that you would like to give students entering the healthcare field or dental school that feel kind of unmotivated or feel that they are doing enough that they can?
Sure. I think it's really important to remember that everybody's journey is their own and everyone's journey is going to look different. I would say my biggest piece of advice is to just focus on what you're doing, but really focus on finding depth in experiences because sometimes you can see somebody who has a million different things they've done and it seems really impressive. But you've got to remember if you just have a couple experiences that are really meaningful to you that you've been participating in for a while, that's what schools are looking for. And that's what you're going to be most confident talking about in an interview. Because if you can only talk a little bit briefly about a million different experiences you did, it's just not as meaningful as talking really down to earth about a few experiences that are really close to you. And I would say it's definitely easy to feel overwhelmed or get into the habit of comparing yourself to others. But at the end of the day, in an interview, most of the time the schools have already looked at your application. They're not too worried about it. They just want to see, are you a good fit for your school? Are you somebody who will get along well with the other students? And are you a nice person? So the best thing you can do is just try to be yourself because you will find somewhere that fits in, even if it takes you another application cycle, even if it takes you a few application cycles. You'll find the right place for you.
Well, that is some great advice. Molly, I just want to say thank you so much for telling us about your experiences in the medical field and also in dental school currently, and for inspiring all the members in our audience.
It is so amazing to see how you've grown and hearing all the amazing advice you have.
To everyone tuning in, thank you for joining us on this episode of Battles and Voices. Your support and positivity means so much to us.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to follow, share, and stay tuned for more episodes on Vitals and Voices. We'll see you next time.